Posted on BenjaminFulford.net. By Benjamin Fulford. The Bundy Ranch villain and traitor, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, is going to join John McCain and George Bush Sr. and be executed for treason, Pentagon sources say. Like McCain, Reid will officially die of cancer and be allowed, as condemned men are, the right to a few last words, the sources say. Reid chose to badmouth U.S. President Donald Trump. While senior public figures like Reid are being allowed to die naturally, others will be executed by lethal injection, Pentagon sources say. The sources also confirm that military tribunals have already begun and that military justice is swift. Meanwhile, the shutdown of the U.S. government, now entering its third week, is likely to lead to the declaration of martial law, the sources say. The unfolding scenario will see military intervention after unpaid prison guards and airport security walk off the job, while food stamp recipients start hunger riots. The U.S. military is fully funded for the next year, so there is no need to worry about a mutiny by unpaid soldiers, by the way. The Roman Curia is supposed to rule over their creation's trusts, foundations, C Corps, S Corps, LLCs, and so on. Now, to their credit, the Curia has weighed in and liquidated a great many municipal corporations involved in criminal activities. This includes the United States, Inc., which has been subjected to Chapter 7, involuntary bankruptcy. They are now in the process of vacating the premises and have to shut down and leave D.C. for 90 days, was what Judge Anna Von Reitz had to report on the situation. Like a dream come true for many, we are also now seeing moves to abolish the Internal Revenue Service and fold the Federal Reserve Board into the U.S. Treasury Department, the sources say. Among other things, this means income taxes will be abolished and replaced with a sales tax on non-essential items, they say. Some independent confirmation of this can be found here. The U.S. military is also preparing for financial systems negotiations with China by sending troops to Africa and Brazil in order to seize key resources and thus bargaining chips, coltan for mobile devices, soybeans, etc., the sources say. With these chips in hand, Trump will be meeting Chinese Vice Larger Wang Qishan at Davos on January 22. Here, the global currency reset will be decided, the sources say. While many details have yet to be worked out, the Chinese, the Americans, and the European royals have all agreed to set up a future planning agency with a budget far larger than the UN, the IMF, and the World Bank, according to European royal family and Asian secret society sources. The European royal family sources add that an agreement has also been reached to nationalize all of the major central banks that currently are privately owned, including the Bank of Japan and the Bank of England. The bankruptcy of the U.S. corporation will also mean that holders of prosperity funds, farm claims, etc. will only be paid a fraction of what they are owed, a European royal family source says. The other thing worth noting is that the Trump/Wang meeting will take place immediately after the super blood wolf moon that occurs on January 20 and 21. As we have noted before, the secret rulers of the Earth use planetary movements to time major moves. Native Americans call the full moon in January the wolf moon because that is when hungry wolves would approach human settlements. The fact that it is also a lunar eclipse, or a blood moon and a supermoon, is a sign that some sort of big moves are planned. Chinese Freemasons have long been saying that limited warfare may be needed before a final settlement can be reached. Perhaps that is why all U.S. carrier groups, obsolete and vulnerable as they are staying in their home ports. In this context, it is also interesting to note that recently, It is also possible that there will be a purge of high-level officials who are blocking the global currency reset, GCR. People like President Emmanuel Macron of France, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan, and Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel come to mind as possibilities. Macron is under siege by patriotic Yellow Vest protesters who are calling for revolution and the nationalization of the Bank of France. Abe is under attack for selling Japan's water resources to criminal corporations. Netanyahu is facing indictment for multiple crimes. Also, the collapse of the US dollar, Chinese yuan, British pound, and Australian dollar and a sudden rise in the price of gold and the Japanese yen on January 2, followed by a counterattack on the next day, gives us a hint of the secret players behind the GCR. Basically, the Asian royal families who control most of the world's gold made a move against the oil people, who then fought back the following day. The fact that the Nasdaq index closed at the satanic price of $6,666, $6,665.94, on that day was obviously no coincidence. In any case, the West will continue purging itself of its criminal overlords in preparation for the planetary reset. On this front, we are seeing a big document dump of 9/11's secrets, ostensibly by the Dark Overlord hackers group but probably by the NSA. Pentagon sources say the documents are being released this way to give Trump plausible deniability. Like a frog being boiled, skis Israel on Syria, and by moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem until the Zionists are terminated with 9/11's revelations, is how one Pentagon source described the situation. A big related move was the sudden and very unusual resignation last week of Sultan Muhammad V, the King of Malaysia. CIA sources in Asia say the resignation was due to his involvement in the Malaysian 1MDB embezzlement scandal that involves Goldman Sachs, former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak, and many others. This scandal is not only about stealing Malaysian government funds, but is also connected to the Malaysian Air 370/17 hijacking, mass murder of passengers, and nuclear blackmail of 58 world leaders in Holland during March of 2014. There will also be revelations about Fukushima. Senior British intelligence sources say UK efforts to carry out trials related to the March 11, 2011 Fukushima nuclear and tsunami mass murder attack were stopped by Jesuit agents. One source, who says he was poisoned by the Jesuits and nearly died as a result, claims that British and Irish Prime Ministers David Cameron and Theresa May, acting in joint criminal enterprise with Enda Kenny and Leo Varadkar, have been instrumental in this affair. George W. Bush was deeply involved in that attack, along with former top Jesuit Peter Hans Calvin-Bach, the sources added. Then U.S. President Barack Obama was not involved, they said. In addition to 9/11s, 3/11s, and Malaysian Air 370/17, the world's public may also start to hear soon about human sacrifice and other horrors carried out by the world's elite. For example, here is a cryptic answer given to us by a European royal when asked about human sacrifice. The activities of the Ninth Circle satanic cult around the world are a source of very immense shame. Again, I am of the view it is a Hazarian mafia human compromise network to be stored away in a box and pulled out at the last minute when needed. In any and all cults, all are victims. This is extremely serious stuff and needs to be handled by highly trained forensic teams. It is a very dark chapter in the history of humanity. Once the psychopathic rulers of the West are finally overthrown and forced to face their crimes, humanity will definitely enter a golden age. For example, it was just announced